Hey, welcome back to Quick Capsule Review. This is Tom. Chop into the DeLorean, everybody. We're going back to the 80s for this episode. We got Manhunter, Black Moon Rising, and Tuff. That's two F's. That's how tough it is. First, we'll start with Manhunter by the great Michael Mann. This was the first Hannibal Lecter movie. It starred Brian Cox, I believe, as Hannibal Lecter as opposed to the great Anthony Hopkins. Although, interesting side note, this guy right here, who played Irvin Burrell in The Wire, Frankie Faison, he is actually the only actor who was in every Hannibal Lecter movie. He didn't play the same character in all of them. He was a police officer in Manhunter, but he also played Barney, who was the attendant of Hannibal Lecter in, I believe, Hannibal and Silence of the Lamb and Red Dragon. So he was actually in more Hannibal Lecter movies than Anthony Hopkins. Anyway, that aside, this movie looked great. Had a very 80s style to it. Even the poster just screams, neon lights and synthwave. I don't even know what. It's amazing though. It's really good. Tom Noonan is the villain, basically playing Tom Noonan. He he kind of lampooned his own image that started in this movie in Last Action Hero when he played the axe murderer butcher guy. But he is extremely well cast as the creepy serial killer who goes by the name of the Tooth Fairy. He's not very fond of that nickname. This also, Manhunter has a great deal of Michael Mann alum. William Peterson is the star, but it's also got Dennis Farina from Crime Story. It's got God, who's the redhead guy who's the lawyer in Crime Story? He played Colonel Quirich in Avatar. Anyway, he's a really great actor. I should know his name, but anyway, he's in there. God, who else is there? Anyway, it's a great procedural thriller. You really get into the profiler's mind and the killer's mind. It's excellent. So I would definitely recommend checking that one out. Next we have Black Moon Rising with Al Gore's college roommate, Tommy Lee Jones, as well as Linda Hamilton, who played, of course, as Sarah Connor in the Terminator films. You get to see her boobs in this one. I don't know if that's going to be a big draw or not, but they are there, so enjoy. It's also got Bubba Smith smacking around Tommy Lee Jones. And this movie, it's got a flying car and a lot of cool 80s stuff. It actually is sort of an apotheosis of all 80s movies because it starts with a flying car in the desert. It's not really flying yet, but it has a very Buckaroo Banzai-ish beginning. But then by the end of the movie, it goes full Fast and Furious, and it's like a car jumping from building to building. It's awesome. It also has Robert Vaughn, who is a fantastic villain, and my brain, especially the more addled I get as I get older, my brain just paints Robert Vaughn into every suited villain from the 80s. I was looking for forever for this movie called The Last Chase, and the only thing I thought I knew about it for sure was that Robert Vaughn was the villain. Spoiler alert, he wasn't, but he's just such an iconic 80s villain. So good. And even when he plays a good guy, he plays them the exact same. He's just very cool and collected. But Black Moon Rising, it's an interesting story because it's Tommy Lee Jones plays a guy who's hired by the government to get this data that they need for a federal case, and he gets chased down by a rival, whatever mercenary, whatever you call him, sort of like tech guy, and he just happens to meet some guys at a gas station who are testing like a rocket car, and so he thinks the best place to put this microfiche. It's always microfiche. Even the Family Ties special, it was like microfiche and Valerie's hairbrush. Anyway, he stuffs it into the license plate of this car, the Black Moon, because he knows where it's going to be in a day, and he doesn't know if he's going to get like accosted or searched or whatever. So he goes to the show, and then just happens yet again to run into Linda Hamilton, who's part of a car thief gang that's like filling up this office building full of stolen cars for Robert Vaughn's nefarious schemes. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's very enjoyable. It was actually a screenplay by John Carpenter, so there's that to enjoy as well. I really love Tommy Lee Jones, but the thing I always remember most about this movie is he takes an epic beating in it at one point. And I remember reading it, like just years and years later, I remember reading the review for Firewall with Harrison Ford. And I believe the reviewer used the phrase, he takes a beating in this that would kill a horse, much less a man at his age. And just my first thought was like, yeah, but nothing will ever top Black Moon Rising. He gets his ass beat. But maybe he wins in the end. Who's to say, dear viewer? Anyway, next up we have Tuff Turf. Tuff Turf. I remember this. All I remember from this as a kid was a scene very early on when James Spader is sort of tracking a cockroach who's crawling across his wall, and he shoots it with like a airsoft gun or something. And he I guess they were trying to set him up to be like some kind of badass, and he does use some of these skills, but mostly it's just a depressing story about James Spader getting bullied and having a quixotic fascination with the girlfriend of the gang's leader, and she's not like a particularly wonderful character or anything like that. She crimps her hair, and that's pretty cool, but I don't know. This movie, as I was watching it, I was trying to cheer myself up with like little bits of trivia, like, oh hey look, it's Robert Downey Jr. and James Spader, so it's like an Iron Man Ultron team up. But ultimately it's just a bunch of 80s kids beating each other up, wearing their white sneakers, and at all the dance parties and all the cool spot scenes and everything. I just kept thinking like, man, all these people are geriatric now. It's just so depressing. But that's life. So anyway, hope everybody enjoyed today's episode, and I will talk to you later. Bye.